Caesar sanctae urbis Romae Augustus.
On this video, we're going to review, analyze, and translate the spoken classical Latin from one of the best scenes in the TV series Barbarian. And then I'll add detailed thoughts and analysis.
Right off the bat, I love the Latin in this TV series. It's excellent. And there are two reasons why it sounds so good. Reason number one, they have specifically chosen classical Latin pronunciation, also known as restored Latin pronunciation, which is basically the sort of pronunciation that the Romans used specifically at this time. Well, from the late Republic all the way up to the 2nd century, so the time of the Principate. That's the sort of pronunciation we would have heard if we had a time machine and could go back in time. Let's jump into it.
Caesar sanctae urbis Romae Augustus. Novum legatum ad Germaniam misit. Senatorem publium quintilium varum.
Okay, so here he's saying Caesar, which is Latin for Caesar, sanctae, holy, urbis, city, Romae, of Rome, Augustus, that's of course the name of the emperor, novum, new, legatum, basically the general of a Roman army, ad, in, Germaniam, that's the name of what would be like Germany, that's where the word Germany comes from, it's the name of those territories, that's how the Romans called it, misit, put. So Augustus, the Caesar of the holy city Rome, placed a new general in Germany, senatorem publium quintilium varum, senator, and then the name publium quintilium varum. As Luke in his video points out, in this part excellently pronounced, the only thing, legatum, so we need the e longer. Its phonemic vowel length is very important in Latin. Caesar sanctae urbis Romae Augustus novum legatum ad Germaniam misit, senatorem publium quintilium varum. Let's continue.
Futuite, veluiste porro nil tenent.
Okay, for the word futuite, already Luke spoke like 15 minutes about it. For me, I just want to say it would be the F word, but it's an incorrect translation, as he points out, and he actually brings forth a very interesting alternative, which is mehercules, to say geez, basically. So it's an exclamation. You see the people are not understanding after you spoke in Latin, and therefore you say damn. So futuite, no, and then he says beluae, so beasts, iste, these, porro, rather, nil, nothing, tenent, understand. So damn, these beasts don't even understand anything, we could translate. So let's replace futuite with the word suggested by Luke, mehercules, mehercules. Belua iste porro nil tenent. Now, another thing that I would like to praise Valerio, and I think he did an excellent job, the actor, is the fact that he's switching. Notice, when he speaks to the people, when he's speaking and everyone can hear him, he's speaking in a very dignified way, and his pronunciation is very correct. In fact, he says Romae. He uses the full diphthong, Romae. He doesn't say Rome. But in this part, when he's speaking just to the guy right next to him, the aquilifer, and he says, Belua iste porro nil tenent. So he says iste instead of istae, and so he makes it shorter, rustic, less educated Latin, makes sense. He's just speaking to the guy next to him.
Postac. Roma tributa vostra non amplius remisuras.
Okay, so postac is from now on. He chooses not to pronounce the H. Usually in classical Latin, the H is pronounced, particularly if it's at the beginning of words, but in this case, it's absolutely fine not to pronounce it. Postac, I think it's easier to say. And then he says Roma, so Rome, tributa, tribute, so taxes, vostra, yours, non amplius, not anymore, remisurast. We could translate it as renounce. So Rome, from now on, will not continue to renounce your tributes. I'd like to point out here that the actor was coached, because you see, modern day Romans tend to pronounce Roma as Roma, Roma, with a closed O, not O. And in the ancient period instead, in Roman times when speaking Latin, would be with an open O, longer of course, so Roma, Roma rather than Roma. As a modern day Roman, he would naturally say Roma, but now here he's pronounced it Roma with an open O. And for example, for me as a Sicilian instead, that would be natural, because Sicilians and this section of the south of Italy, we have retained very open vowels, whereas the rest of mainland started to close vowels. So for me, it's natural to say Roma, like the Romans did, but not for him, so big round of applause for him. The next part gets really exciting.
Varus exigit ab omni tribu pretium viceum boum. Vel quinquagenum ponderum frumenti centenari.
Okay, so I love this part, how strong and authoritative he sounds. He says, Varus, that's of course the name of the general, the senator, exigit, we have a similar word in Italian, esigere, it's to demand in this case, ab omni, to all, tribu, tribes, pretium, it sounds like price, it's basically a tax, vicenum, which means 20, bon, which are cows. It's interesting because he fully pronounces the M, he says boom, and that's a bit too modern Italian. As an Italian, that's how I would naturally pronounce it, I would say boom, but the Latins, the M is fully nasalized, so it needs to be so boom, boom, if you want to sound authentic. Quinquagenum, 50, ponderum, it's like pounds, although it's Roman pound, but it's a unit of measure, frumenti, wheat, centenari. So basically it's the amount of wheat that he wants every tribe to pay. What I want to underline here, and that's the translation mistake, is that this spoken translation from the Germanic translator, they say that the Romans now want 20 cows and wheat, but they don't. The Latin centurion says well, which means or. So you either pay 20 cows or you pay the wheat. He's not asking for both. He's asking one or the other. So to read the whole thing, postac, Roma tributa vostra non amplius remisurast, varus exigit ab omni tribu pretium vicenum boum, vel quinquagenum ponderum frumenti centenari. Ah, I love Latin. Okay, so now the Germanic king complains. Of course, the Roman doesn't have a clue what he's saying, but he says,
Quid?
Quid? Which means what? And here the next should grant him an Oscar.
Dic iterum.
He says, dic, say, iterum, again. It's menacing. It's like he's threatening him.
Hey, noble ones, we've got some incredible news. I'm launching a new plushie. So we've got a new collaboration going with Makeship, and it's this plushie here. You can tell. Look at the hair. Look at the hair. So yeah, it's a Metatron plushie. I'm gonna show you now. I've got the prototype right here, so you'll see. You're not just gonna see the silhouette. Yeah, I'll show you. Anyways, it's a Metatron 1 million subscriber plushie, so it's my way to celebrate you. But Metatron, you don't have 1 million subscribers yet. Well, ideally, it's like the last, 12,000 steps together, but there are over 1 million noble ones if you consider my second channel, for instance. Anyways, I'm gonna show you the plushie now. Because it looks amazing. It's so historically accurate. In 3, 2, 1. Here it is. So he's even got the brigandine. Look, he's got the historically accurate brigandine, hand-spun silk velvet with brass. You have no idea. Poor guys, I was so annoying with the design. Also, the hair is historically accurate. I had to change it 3 times. I'm like, too short, so the hair is historically accurate. The beard is historically accurate. Look at this. Most importantly, this is a limited edition. It will only be available for about 20 days because this is pedantic edition. Metatron pedantic edition. So yeah, click the link in the description below and you will be able to do a subscription for creator updates on the website, and the plushie will launch in 4 days, 19 hours, 33 minutes and 59 seconds. 58, 57, 56, 55, 54. Make sure you get your limited pedantic edition plushie, and thank you very much for your support.
Diciterum. So you can imagine it as, say it again. Then the scene finishes with him saying, spatium vobis est tridum. So the space, spatium, vobis, yours, so your space, est is tridum, 3 days. It's interesting that I think he does this. As an Italian I would do this, but it doesn't really matter. Spatium vobis est tridum. So after all, I love the performance, just a couple of problems with phonemic lengthening of vowels, but generally speaking, excellent pronunciation and excellent exposition. Let's move to Varus.
Nunc demum advenisti, fili mi.
Nunc demum advenisti, fili mi. Okay, so nunc means now, demum then, advenisti, you came, you arrived, fili, son, mi, mine. Now then you have arrived, my son, would be the translation. Gaetano Aronica is an excellent actor, and as I say, he's from Sicily, he's from Agrigento, but when he speaks Italian, and I've heard some interviews, when he speaks Italian, he has no accent. So when he speaks Italian, he doesn't really speak with that Agrigento accent, I'd like to point out. He lives in Rome with his son, and he speaks perfect standard Italian. However, I'm sure he knows how to open vowels, because that's, as I say, the natural way of speaking of us Sicilians, so I'm sure that for him it was not a problem to switch into open vowels for Latin. But he's also the oldest of all the actors here who had to probably learn how to pronounce classical Latin, and he's having some problems. He fully pronounces the M, demum, gratum. It should be demum, gratum. For Italians, that's a little difficult for us Italians, but one way that I usually teach Italians how to do this, and in general people have a difficult time with the M being pronounced as a vowel rather than as a consonant, is to think of, for example, the Italian words banca, mango. When you say banca, you don't say bannaca, and when you say mango, you don't say mannago. If I were the pronunciation coach in this show, I would have told all Italian actors, pronounce the M like you pronounce the N in banca. But apart from a few pronunciation anachronisms, I have to say that the way the actor puts a lot of feeling, he sounds like a good guy, even though he's supposed to play the villain. I love the contrast, the fact that he sounds so good and calm, but he's going to murder you the moment you say the wrong thing to him. And again, I listened to the interview, and he sounds like a really good guy. He just has, it's natural to him. He's not using his acting skills in this case, he just sounds like a good guy, even when he speaks normally. So I think that was an interesting choice for the sort of contrast. Very calm, and I think it makes sense considering the very high position Varus had. He would have been a very confident man.
In Germaniam optatus hades.
And the stress here also is slightly off. It should be in Germaniam optatus hades. So the occasional stress that is misplaced when the centurion Metellus says age to say act, well, it should be age. The accent should be at the beginning. So there is the occasional mistake with the stress, there is the occasional mistake with the M, but generally speaking, the classical pronunciation represented here is the best I've ever heard in a movie, and it's excellent. Big thumbs up. Caesar sanctae urbis Romae Augustus novum legatum ad Germaniam misit, senatorem publium quintilium varum. Me Hercules. Belua iste porron il tenent. Postac, Roma tributa vostra non amplius remisurast. Varus exigit ab omni tribu pretium vicenum boum. Vel quinquagenum ponderum frumenti centenari. Diciterum.